What's up guys, welcome back to Finance to Fly. My name is Luke and I'm here to help you elevate your travel while minimizing your spending. Today we're going to be giving you an example of all of Chase's transfer partners and which ones probably the best are, which one are the worst, and how you can use your Chase points effectively across all their transfer partners. So to start things off, we're gonna get some guide rails so that you understand what I'm saying. Chase allows you to transfer from 3 of their cards in their ecosystem to transfer partners. There's currently about 14 airlines and 3 hotels, and we'll be covering all of those. When it comes to valuing Chase points, you're gonna wanna value them around 2 cents per piece, but because they have the travel portal and bonuses with redeeming through the travel portal, currently the Chase Inc. Business Premier and the Chase Sapphire Preferred, both an extra 25% in value when redeeming through their travel portal, so their minimum value of their points is 1.25 cents per piece. And then for the Chase Sapphire Reserve, be an extra 50% in value, so your minimum value for the Chase Sapphire Reserve is about 1.5 cents per piece. Those are the set numbers, the baselines you should go for with Chase points. If you can't get at least those values out of the transfer partners, go book through the travel portal and you'll get that extra value, not spend the extra points. And there's also other ways to redeem your points through the Chase ecosystem, but we're not going to cover those because I just want to cover all the transfer partners in this video. But back to the transfer partners, when you do transfer your points out of Chase's ecosystem, you should be able to get an average around 2 cents per piece in terms of value on your points. Depending on what you're flying, if you're flying a domestic economy flight, you're going to be probably a little bit lower than that. If you're flying international business or first, you're probably going to be higher than that. Either way, here to give you some examples of how you can maximize your value through each transfer partner. And then last thing to note, for all these transfer partners, each point is transferred at a 1-to-1 ratio in increments of 1,000 points. And from time to time, Chase does have 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30% transfer bonuses. And for like the hotels like IHG and Marriott, it could be 50 to 70% transfer bonus. And so the first redemption we're going to have, it's going to be through Aer Lingus, Iberia, and British Airways. Yes, I did say we were going to cover all airlines, but because these 3 share Avios, along with Finnair and Qatar, which are both not transfer partners to Chase, but you can transfer Chase points through British Airways, Iberia, Aer Lingus, or Qatar Airways. Either way, Avios are pretty much universally the same values through all partners, and that's why I want to show you one example for the total of all of them, since you can interchange the Avios between the 5 programs. So for this Avios example, we're going to be booking a one-way ticket from JFK to Madrid in economy class to show you how little points you need to use to get over there. This one-way ticket in Avios is going to cost around 17,000 points and $88. For this one-way cash rate, it's going to cost $444. And the measurement we use to understand how good of a redemption is it compared to the travel portal redemptions, we use the cent per point value, which I've talked about before. But to get the cent per point value, you're going to subtract the taxes and fees from the cash cost and then divide by the points amount. That's how you get the cent per point value. But this redemption rate here, when you subtract the $88 in taxes and fees from the $444 cash price and then divide by the 17,000 point of value, you get a 2.09 cent per point value, which is just above that 2 cent per point mark. Now, I know this is for a one-way ticket. You do have to assume a round trip will cost double the points and about 70-80% more in the cash cost. Like I mentioned before, there is transfer bonuses from time to time, especially Avios from Chase. A 20% bonus would knock the price down on this flight to just 13,600 Chase points, or if a 30% bonus, it would just knock it down to 11,900 points, which is really good redemptions over to Europe, especially because the taxes and fees are low. Next on the list, it's going to be Emirates. This is a great transfer partner for those extra long haul flights, especially in business and first class. I mean, you're going to be booking the most luxurious suite in the sky. And when I mean super long haul, you can literally book a trip pretty much around the world. And for this example, I'm going to be giving you the pretty much longest itinerary you can do on Emirates from the US. And that is flying from Los Angeles through Dubai to Tokyo. Yes, it's totally opposite way you should fly to Tokyo, because you should be going left instead of right. But hey, if you want to fly first class around the world, you can. And not to mention, this trip does add about 25 hours of flight time and travel time to your trip. Either way, this first class ticket costs around $14,500. The crazy amount of cash to pay for a plane ticket, especially when you're going out of your way to fly the wrong direction to get to where you want to go. This is one of those once in a lifetime flights. You're gonna get a shower on board, you're gonna get your private suite, caviar in the sky, champagne, Dom Perignon, you name it, they have it. There's no way that 99.99% of the population can pay for this flight out of cash and be comfortable doing so. That being said, paying with points, it's a great way to do this bucket list type of trip. And for this ticket, it costs only 207,000 points and about $1,254 in taxes and fees. Yes, there is still a lot in taxes and fees and a lot of points, but that saves you 13,000 points and gets you a cent per point rate of 6.4 cents per point. Obviously, I would not recommend doing this trip only if it's on your bucket list, because flying to Japan from LA to Tokyo, it's only like a 10 or 12 hour flight. Why add all the extra hours? But hey, if you want to fly first class for the longest possible time you can, I would do this. I mean, it's freaking amazing redemption. Now, moving on, we're going to move on to one of the best sweet spots to get over to Europe. It's going to be the Flying Blue program. This is going to be between Air France and KLM, and this program has so much to offer, from the promo award rates to the transfer bonuses over there to the 15,000 point rates to get from one way to the US to Europe in economy. It's absolutely great. Either way, we're gonna be booking a round-trip economy ticket from Chicago to Amsterdam. Each way, it costs 15,000 points and some taxes and fees for a total of 30,000 points and $295 for a round-trip ticket. This same round-trip ticket is a little bit more than $1,100 in cash, which is gonna get you a cent per point value of 2.75 cents per point, which is really good, especially for it being a round-trip economy ticket. Next, we're gonna go back to the States and we're gonna book with JetBlue. JetBlue has a partnership with Qatar so that you can book Qatar Q Suites and other flights on Qatar through JetBlue. You can also book these through American Airlines for a little bit less, and Alaska and other One World Alliance members. Booking Q Suites to the Middle East is obviously a bucket list trip because the Q Suites are a really great business class. I think they're the #1 in the world or whatnot, but either way, cool business class to fly through. And you can book with JetBlue points, specifically 79,000 points, which is only 9,000 more points than booking straight with Qatar. But the bonus of that 9,000 points extra booking, you only have to pay about $8 in taxes and fees compared to $250, $300. And at the time of this recording, when I was looking at this flight, it cost $9,500 to go that way, one way. It's not usually that high, but it's usually $4,000 to $6,000 for a round trip ticket, which is not bad. But if you use the cash rate that we have at the time of this booking, it's gonna be around 12.03 cents per point, which is 6 times more than the average value you get for your Chase points. That's absolutely insane. And even if you double the amount of points to get a round trip ticket, it's still gonna be around 6 cents per point. That's very good. Next, we're gonna look at Singapore Airlines to book Singapore Airlines business class. And one thing to note when you book with Singapore Airlines is you're gonna want to make sure you're booking Saver Award space. Why? Each way on a round trip ticket or even a one-way ticket, it's gonna cost 32,500 miles more than it would if you just book with Saver Award rate. So Saver Award is 32,500 points less than whatever the normal award rate is. But either way, we're gonna be booking this trip from New York City to Hanoi, Vietnam, round trip. Round trip, that's not bad at all from the East Coast to Southeast Asia, a smaller city. It's 223,000 miles and about $122 in tax and fees. That's really good rate. That's a really good rate overall. This same ticket is about $6,600 and that'll get you around a 2.87 cent per point rate. And if you don't book that Saver rate, you're gonna get only a cent per point value of 2.22 cents per point, which is still really good, but you're using an extra 65,000 miles when you don't need to, or at least you have the option not to. Next on the list, we're going to be heading again back to the States. We're going to be booking with Southwest Airlines. This is a more interesting partner because not all the time you're going to want to book with Southwest, especially if you have the Sapphire Reserve. You'll see what I mean in a second. So for example, we're going to take a one-way ticket from Cleveland to Las Vegas. Cash cost of this flight is about $203. The points cost is around 14,500 points and about $6 in taxes and fees. This will get you a nice cent point value of 1.36 cents per point, which is lower than 2.27 which is lower than the 2 cents per piece value that we should probably be striving for, and it's lower than the Sapphire Reserve's rate of 1.5 cents per piece. So this flight, I would want you to book this through the travel portal because you would use less points. Specifically, you'd use about 1,000 less points, and you wouldn't have to pay that $6 in taxes and fees. Now, if you had the Sapphire Preferred or the Chase Ink Business Preferred, I would definitely use the transfer partner. Next up on the list, we're going to move over to United Airlines. Does not have the best award chart in terms of Star Alliance, as you can usually get flights cheaper through Air Canada and some other ones, but it has its sweet spot, specifically when you use the excursionist perk. So let's take a look at this trip. I currently have an excursionist perk trip booked for New Year's, and I will tell you about that more in another video, but for this trip, you're going to be wanting to book this flight. But the excursionist perk pretty much allows you to go, say you're flying to Europe, right? You're flying from Cleveland, because I'm just giving Cleveland as an example since I'm from here, Cleveland to Vienna, then you're doing your little trip around there, then you're doing a flight from Munich to Greece, Athens, right? Then you're gonna fly from Athens back to Cleveland. Well, that Munich to Athens flight is going to be only added on taxes and fees about $50, $60 because you're using that excursionist perk. You're not any points cost onto it. But for this example, we're gonna be flying Cleveland to Buenos Aires to Sao Paulo back to Cleveland. The Buenos Aires to Sao Paulo flight is something that I was kind of shocked to find. It's an Ethiopian Airlines 5th Freedom flight. So that means they're flying from Buenos Aires to Sao Paulo and then back to Ethiopia, but you can book that through an award flight on United for just Buenos Aires to Sao Paulo. But back to this trip, cost 176,000 miles in business class and about $118 in taxes and fees. That same trip is going to cost around $5,300 in cash, and that'll get you a nice 2.93 cents per point in value. And I'm sure there's ways to get this itinerary in a cheaper way, but in terms of ease of use, this is just booking the whole trip on one itinerary through one airline. It's pretty simple. I've done this. I mentioned it before. I'm doing this to Europe. It's really nice and simple. And yes, I feel the simplicity of it is worth the extra points, especially because you can get some good value out of your points, even if you're spending a lot more. You know, we're almost done with airlines, but we gotta go to Virgin Atlantic. At this time as the recording, Virgin Atlantic does have a set award pricing, but I've heard they are moving on to dynamic award rates and we'll be changing that soon. So at the time of the video coming out, I'm sure that has changed, but either way, we're gonna look at some of their normal award rates as of right now. And when the time they change over to dynamic reward rates, I've heard that the Saver rewards that they're gonna have are gonna be costing less than what the points amount they cost right now. Either way, we're going to be flying from Paris to Manila, Philippines. And this is going to be on Saudi Airlines, which is a completely random trip I never thought I would ever see, but here we are, right? This will give you a layover in Saudi Arabia for about 4 hours after a business class flight from Paris to Saudi and then Saudi to Manila. This flight is only $2,700 in cash for a one-way ticket or 115,000 points and about $135 in cash. This is still a great value for your points at 2.25 cents per piece value, and I really don't think it's the most conventional route, but hey, if you're trying to check off another airline off your bucket list, or if this is the only thing that works for you, I mean, I guess it works, right? Obviously, I don't know what paperwork or if any you need to get in order to transit through Saudi Arabia, but hey, that's something to find out if you actually book this flight. And last but not least, we're gonna go with the final airline, Air Canada's Aeroplan. This is probably the best way to get Star Alliance bookings on awards because they have a set award chart as of right now. Hopefully they never change that, but I'm sure that it's gonna come sooner or later to dynamic award rate, you know, like everything else. But consistently, you can get a 60,000 point redemption in business class from Europe to US or US to Europe. And so for this one, we're gonna be flying from New York to Geneva in Swiss business class. It's gonna cost 60,000 points and about $50 USD, or for a cash rate about $3,100. It gets you a nice 3.05 cents per point value, which is really showing how easily it is to get these Air Canada points to be valuable. Now that we're done with the airlines, we're gonna move on to the 3 hotel programs. That's IHG, Hyatt, and Marriott. I would not recommend transferring your points to the hotel programs, except for Hyatt. We'll go over that, but IHG and Marriott, they're just not gonna get you as much value as the travel portal can get you. But With that being said, we're gonna start with Hyatt to show you why you're gonna want to transfer from the Hyatt rather than the other two hotel programs. One, Hyatt does have a small footprint. They have really good award rates because they still use a award chart. And for this trip, we're gonna be going down to Cabo, and we're gonna be staying in the Cape, which is a Thompson hotel. This hotel is only 30,000 points a night, while if you wanna pay cash for this, it's almost $1,000 at $966 a night. That'll get you a nice 3.22 cents per point value, which is really good, especially for Hyatt points, because Hyatt points are around 2 cents per piece each. So that's a really good redemption and probably the best way you can transfer Chase points over to a hotel points system. After Hyatt, the number 2 best hotel that you can transfer your Chase points over to are going to be Marriott. In order to really find good value in Marriott, you have to book a very luxurious hotel and probably for 5 nights to get advantage of the 5th night free. But for this redemption, we're going to just book a luxury hotel and not worry about the 5th night free. This one, we're going to be booking the Maldives, the Ritz-Carlton on Faroe Islands. It's probably one of the most nicest hotels in the world, I'm pretty sure. Very nice, overall very exclusive. And for a 3-night stay, it's going to cost you a little over $10,000. That does include about $1,000 mandatory transportation costs, and that cost does not go away when you book with points. But for the points booking, it's going to cost around, for 3 nights, 462,000 points, $1,065 in the transportation cost. That brings out the cent per point value of this trip to 2.05 cents per point, which is great, especially for Marriott, considering that's over double what the Marriott points are worth. But for Chase, that's a lot of points to get rid of, especially when you can get higher value. But hey, if you have a lot of those Chase points sitting around, why not, you know? I mean, 462,000 points can get you a lot farther in terms of flights. You can probably do 4 or 5 round trip tickets to Europe in business class, if not 10 in economy, just specifically thinking of transferring the Air France KLMs or Iberia. But hey, if that works out to your redemption and your advantage, then why not? And last but not least, we're going to look at IHG. IHG is very hard to find over a 1 cent per point value, but from time to time you can, especially if you do hold elite status with them. You can get the 4th night free perk, which is just the free night you get after paying for 3 nights with points. But for this redemption, we're going to assume you don't have their status, and we're going to stay in the Hotel Indigo in Venice for 3 nights over the 4th of July weekend. This cash rate is going to cost you around $1,200, or with points around 212,000 points. This is going to get you a crappy 0.56 cent per point value for your points, and it's just don't transfer them over here. It's really bad to transfer your Chase points over here, even with a bonus. I mean, if you earn IHG points by itself, it's one thing, but transferring Chase points over, don't. Why would you do that? Well, if you're transferring points over, you have a minimum value of 1.25 cents per point value through the travel portal. That means you only use about 96,000 points. And that comes to a much better rate, especially if you have the Sapphire Reserve. As with the Sapphire Reserve, you only use around 80,000 points to book this hotel. You cut the cost by over 50% just by using the travel portal, which is kind of why I would recommend using the travel portal over the IHG transfer partner. But all in all, video's wrapping up. What do you think? Have you redeemed any Chase points before with any of these partners? Let me know what your redemptions you've done before. What Chase cards do you have? Do you have the Reserve? Do you have the Preferred? Do you have the Business Preferred? Either way, let me know down in the comments below. And if you get that like and subscribe button, it would be greatly appreciated. Until next time, have a great day.